So today, Albert and I are sleeping with the enemy. This is the AMG GTS. Just a beautiful car in my eyes. One of my favorite competitors to the Porsche 911. So the AMG GT cars are sort of the Porsche 911 competitors within Mercedes-Benz. When I say sort of, you know, they are similar price, similar horsepower, similar performance, but they do things completely differently. This feels like a heavier car than a 911, and you know, the visibility is not as good, but the way it delivers power and the way it does things is more of a raunchous smack in the face. It really is an exciting, fun car to drive, and they're so beautiful. I just can't get over what a great job they've done with the interiors and the way it looks on the outside. You know, not all Mercedes are my cup of tea, but this one is just phallic-like. It's so gorgeous on the outside. So this is the S model, and it normally has 500 and something horsepower, but this has had the Renntech ECU upgrade, which is a boost upgrade, and they've done something with the exhaust. It's a lot louder on the outside. Yeah, it's somebody has chopped a whole lot of testicles off and just thrown them in the engine. This thing has got some balls. But it's not raw like a Corvette. It's still very civilized in here. The cabin wraps around you. Oh, don't get me started on this cabin. It is gorgeous inside. We'll stop at my house and we'll have a closer look. But yeah, it wraps around you like a cockpit of a jet fighter. It is a very comfortable sports car to drive. And I would be happy driving this every day. You know, the seats are super cozy. They're not quite the same as the Porsche seats. They're a little harder in the center, but they still hug you well. And the layout of the interior, fantastic. Yeah, at open throttle, the rear end lets go just about every time. It is an unrestrained beast, this thing. So it would be a shame to have this car out here and not have a very small drag race with my car. So we'll stop up here, we'll switch the cameras around, and we'll see how this 600 and something horsepower GTS just obliterates my poor little 911. Okay, back in my car, which is a completely different driving experience, even though they're very similar cars. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Yeah, you can see the extra power. I think he had a little bit of trouble with the traction at the beginning, but obviously 600 and something horsepower, it's always going to beat my car. But boy, it's a beautiful looking machine on the outside, isn't it? So I know I should be out driving this beautiful beast, but there are so many little details that it's worth spending a bit more time just looking around the interior and some of the exterior as well. So we'll start with the engine. We'll go and have a look at the engine. I mean, the hood bonnet just goes on forever. So you're kind of expecting to see this enormous engine, and it is, but what is curious is I think some of it is for looks, which is great. If you have a look in the grille here, you can see how far back the radiators are actually put. So there's sort of this much of the car from here to here, sort of empty space. So that's the engine. I'll pop this back down again. Look at these brakes, even larger than the brakes on my 911 by a significant margin. But then you've got the long rake. It's just beautiful from every angle, this car. And I love the way they've sculptured these mirrors. And the back end is sort of, I don't know, paddable. It's like a perfect curve. I don't know, I don't want to be too sexual about a car, but this car is a sexy beast. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on the interior because it's such a work of art. Obviously I'm a big fan of deviated stitching and contrasting leather, and this car is as contrasting as it comes. You know, there's not a lot of cars that I could think of that I like the interior more. Maybe some of the Rolls Royces and the Bentleys do leather better, but you know, Mercedes have really lifted their games, and this is just stunning inside, the way they've done the leather in this car. And of course the metalwork as well. It's very retro, very Flash Gordon spaceship in here. I can't say enough good things about it. As for these bucket seats, they're very comfortable, they're very supportive. You can adjust the bolsters and everything. They're not quite as nice as the 18 ways in the Porsche, but you know, pretty much 95% there. Of course, this car has the red seat belts to match the outside, a nice touch. And of course the giant sunroof, which when Albert's ass isn't on there, lets in a decent amount of light and makes the car feel a lot roomier inside. But really the cockpit is a work of art because of the way it sort of curves around the driver, a bit like a cockpit fighter. It really is a lovely place to be in here. I'm shocked at how much I love sitting in this car, and it's all the little details like here. They've really gone to a lot of effort to make this car so pretty inside. The carbon fibre, just not overdoing the carbon fibre, just a little bit here, just a little bit there. You know, some cars that just splash the carbon fibre everywhere and it looks cheap. But no, AMG have done such a great job in here. Everything in these modern Mercedes is so nice to touch. Everything has a solid clunk to it. Yeah. It's a lovely piece of equipment, this car. Let me just quickly start it up for you guys. And then if I put it in individual mode, give it a bit of a rev. Yeah. She's an awesome piece of kit, there's no doubt about it. So would I buy one of these instead of a 911? You know, it's a close run thing. They're very different cars for being so similar. It just does everything differently. Feels so different. It feels heavier and bigger and more like a GT car than the 911. Obviously, as I've said, the visibility is totally different. The 911 feels like a fishbowl compared to this. But I love the way this delivers power. I love the sounds this makes. It's a very addictive car to drive, and I don't really have too many criticisms of it. It is a lovely machine. You know, ideally, you'd have both because they're so different, even though they're really aimed at the same market. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for coming along for a ride in this testosterone red beast of a car. Just awesome. I actually had a dry mouth from driving it. It really took my breath away, putting my foot down in this car each time. Just fantastic little machine it is. Quite different than my 911. Any questions you got, put them in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks everyone. Bye then. On to the steering wheel. Now the steering wheel has Alcantara on it. We all know what my thoughts on Alcantara are, but we're going to try and give Alcantara its due today. You can see where it's worn a little bit, where you put your hands. It's a low mileage car and it's already kind of gotten hard instead of furry here. So sometimes you can bring Alcantara back to life. Tui, what you're doing down there, I've got a little bit of soapy water and a cloth. I'm going to try and rub this and get the furriness back. Sometimes it's just the oils from your hand. You see that's starting to come up already. Get some of those oils out of there and the fluffiness of the Alcantara starts to come back. A little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit improved. You can see up here what it used to be like in the headliner. It's nice and fluffy. So yeah, sometimes with Alcantara you can restore its original fluffiness and comfort by just rubbing it with a damp cloth. You know, everything rubbing with a damp cloth, and just get some of those oils out of it, and sometimes you can get it back to life. It will wear eventually, like all our Alcantara, but as you can see, it's nicely restored back to almost new again with a little bit of rubbing. How long that will last? Probably only a few thousand miles, unfortunately, but yeah. Just to give Alcantara its due, because I give Alcantara a lot of grief, you can sometimes get it back to a reasonable shape. So just a little bit of elbow grease.